Alrighty, so we have some interesting information here. Obviously, this is from the beta app, so if you're unaware and this is your first time seeing stuff from the beta app, this is very, very important right here. You got to take all of this with a grain of salt, pretty much, because some of this is probably just stuff that the devs are working on or potentially looking into to see if it could actually be a good mechanic for the game. But more than likely, a lot of this stuff is either not going to make it into the final cut of the game, or it's just, things that they're messing around with. So he literally says right here at the top and at the very bottom, this information could probably change in the future, it could release months later, or never happen. So just be aware that a lot of this stuff, is just kind of things that they're sort of looking at. So the first and foremost, we have new mode, PvP Versus. And I was kind of confused. I didn't really understand why you would call it Versus, because that's pretty much what PvP is to begin with. But it says you will fight with other players at the same time, total players being 4. So that sounds really interesting, but it also sounds really chaotic. And it also sounds like something that would be incredibly hard to balance. So I don't exactly know how they would pull this off. But, I mean, who knows if they can do it right and it actually is somewhat, decently balanced and it's not just, 3 people could potentially just gang up on one guy and knock him out or whatever. It could be, I don't know, really fun and chaotic. Because chaotic doesn't always mean a bad thing. But, I don't know, it just seems like something that would be kind of hard to sort of implement and actually still work the way you intend it to, I guess. But the next big thing, and it pretty much goes over the rest of this, is going to be a new feature, Weather, which I think is a very interesting mechanic. I don't know. This seems like something that would be really game-changing, so I don't necessarily know if this is something that might make it into the game. We've had beta app, sort of leaks in the past where they're, talking about, hey, maybe we could do something like this or whatever, and I don't think a lot of those stuff, or a lot of the things that they sort of experiment with, end up making it into the game. And this seems like a huge thing that would change the way that a lot of teams sort of function, or could end up creating sort of weird metas and everything. So I don't know exactly, how to feel about this one per se, but it says the weather will boost some units or races. The weather applied will be from the team with more CC. It can be activated by passives, relics, or events. So, first and foremost, the fact that it says applied will be from the team with more CC is immediately a deal breaker for me. The game is already so CC dependent in a lot of scenarios. I do not want the CC to be the big dictator here for how weather gets applied, because that absolutely makes it, very whale heavy, very, non free to play friendly, and PvP in general is already not very free to play friendly. So if we could get away from that, that would be fantastic, just for balancing issues and everything. The fact that it says it can be activated by passives, relics, or events makes it a little bit more interesting, because obviously, if they had a mechanic like that, they could make, they could make a new Tarmiel who, his part of his passive is to apply, there's rain, isn't there? I'm pretty sure. Summer, night, flower, electric storm, maybe? I don't know, maybe electric storm. If rain is not already an option, which it doesn't seem like it is for some reason. I would have expected that to be a pretty prominent weather, weather pattern, but either way, if, say, rain was one, he's obviously, a goddess. His whole grace deals around water and everything, so he would be perfect to, they make a green Tarmiel, he applies, rainy weather, blah blah blah, you get the buffs from it. So that could potentially be a way that they do it. Relics, obviously there's a lot of characters who still need relics, and could potentially make that relic good, depending on and I don't know if the weather effect is actually decent or not. But we have a couple of different ones that they sort of have, I guess, already sort of cooked up. Sunny is plus 10% attack to Escanor and Mayel. Obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory because of, them being, they have the grace that sort of ties to the sun. Plus 15% basic stats to goddess race is kind of interesting. I don't know. It's kind of odd. I don't know if all of these things get applied, because then it's also 10% basic stats to humans and fairy race. So I don't know. I mean, you get 15% basic stats, and you're running Mael, so he also gets 10% attack on top of his basic stats. I'm not sure exactly how all that would sort of work out, but I mean, hey, I guess it would make sense. Yeah, I could be kind of cool. You have nighttime attack to Cusack and Chandler. Okay, kind of odd that those are the two that sort of get the boost here. Basic stats to Demon Race, that makes sense. Basic stats to Unknown and Giant Race is a little bit lower, but still there. So I mean, it's kind of weird. I wouldn't really associate Giants with nighttime, but I guess that's fine. Plus 20% lifesteal to Gelda. Okay. So that's actually really interesting, because we still don't have a Gelda unit yet. Not exactly sure when they're planning on bringing that out, but I don't know. I guess she put, like, in particular, any Gelda unit, if they end up making multiples, would end up getting a pretty significant lifesteal bonus. And 20% lifesteal is nothing to sneeze at. Like, lifesteal, there's a reason why lifesteal is always, like, the lowest stat every character has. Or maybe not every single character, but I'm pretty sure, like, lifesteal is the one that they do not, they don't let up with lifesteal. They keep lifesteal very low, because obviously every single attack that you do, you're going to gain health back. So the fact that she would basically be able to, she would have to be like a really squishy character, I think, for her to be able to get away with having this much lifesteal, but who knows. We have Electric Storm, 10% basic stats to Merlin. Okay. That's very minimal, but that's fine, I guess. Flowers, which is plus 25% defense-related stats or HP-related stats to Fairy Race. Plus 10% basic stats to Bon. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I'm not really sure about that one. I mean, the Fairies Race thing makes sense to me, I guess. And the fact that it says defense-related stats or HP-related stats, I'm not sure how they would sort of work that out. Christmas Eve, I wouldn't consider that a weather pattern or weather effect, but who knows. Plus 20% HP related stats to Human Race, so obviously this would be a really good one for like the human team, the Bond team, whatever you want to call it. Night of Terror, plus 20% attack to Demon Race. Chocolate Day is plus 25 or plus 20% HP related stats to Fairy Race. Summer Day is plus 20% basic stats to Disasters, so Lily of Valentia, etc. That's kind of interesting. And then Passive Mael applies Sunny. If Sunny is active for every 2 turns, increases his attack by 4%, maximum of 5 times. So this would be like, I'm assuming, I don't know if this is them saying that's what his passive would be, or like this would be kind of what they would make it if they end up adding this sort of weather mechanic. But I guess that's a good example of like, hey, this is how the weather would kind of get applied. So that's kind of interesting. And then Chandler, I'm assuming this would be new Chandler, because the old Chandler already has a relic, but new Chandler's relic would be applies night for every turn, applies darkness to all enemy or all units except Demon Race units. That is really strong, I would think. Like, I know that there's already, like, pretty good AoE teams and everything with like Demon Hendrickson and everything that you can sort of use to apply like 3 darkness stacks like very first turn, but those darkness stacks are nothing to sneeze at. Like, they end up increasing quite a lot of stats on your team. So the fact that like every turn it would apply darkness stacks to all units except Demon Race is actually pretty strong. So that could be pretty interesting. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't. That sounds strong to me. Maybe in practice it wouldn't be as big of a deal. Maybe. And then Infinity Merlin Relic is when your opponents have 10 debuffs applied, or when they have 10 debuffs applied, applies Electric Storm. For every debuff, inflicts 2% of her remaining HP as additional damage. So that's pretty interesting. And then that's pretty much the end of the info there. I'm not really sure. I don't know what to think about this overall. I think I do think that the game could definitely benefit from having a new mechanic sort of applied or like introduced, because I mean, you know, people are getting a little bored. I'll be honest. I mean, I get bored with the game every once in a while, but I don't know. It just kind of is what it is, and you know, it's just a phone game. You know, you can't spend 24/7 on it, but this could be something kind of neat. I don't know necessarily, like, obviously, I don't know, the things that they have here listed aren't necessarily bad. Some of them might need to be tweaked or adjusted with, you know, actual, like, extra playtime or just testing and everything like that. But altogether, it doesn't sound awful. I mean, it sounds like it could be something kind of cool. I don't know. Obviously, we'd have to sort of get our hands on it and play with it and everything before we realize that it's good or bad, maybe. But overall, I don't know. I think that the game could definitely benefit from a new sort of feature like this. So I think, I don't know, it could create a lot of, whatchamacallit, like FOMO around characters who have passives that apply weather effects or, you know, this or that. So I would almost rather them tie them to more relics than anything, so that way you're not already, like, you know, there's already characters that come out that are super, super good, and you're like, like, I can't skip this unit, but, you know, something else might be coming up right around the corner or whatever. Like, I would much rather it be something that you can sort of grind out and use, but at the same time, that always kind of presents the issue where, you know, lower level players aren't going to be able to get their hands on it as easily, and, you know, I don't know. There's all kinds of weird things that they might have to look at for this sort of thing. But definitely let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on this, because it definitely seems interesting. But obviously, like I said, it is this is from the dev app, so this is very, very subject to change. Might not even ever make it into the game, but it is nice to see that they're sort of experimenting with some new stuff. Maybe we'll see some cool new features and stuff like that get added in the near future. Because I mean, we're getting kind of close. We're getting kind of towards the end of the whole story, so I don't exactly know how this is going to work out. But I guess we shall see. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.